And welcome everybody to yet another Critical Blast Critical Podcast, where we talk with all the different comic creators. And just to let you know, we will talk with book authors, movie makers. If you do art, um, come to us. Let us know. We'd love to talk you to our audience and promote your projects. And tonight, we're expecting several people, but it's all about Caesar right now from El Guapo Comics. Caesar, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So, I was real sorry to hear that AT&T and Warner Brothers was you know taking a side through the comics industry. And oh wait, you guys do your own thing. You're not beholden to them, are you?
No, not at all. I mean, listen, I've been doing independent comics, in a certain sense, for a while. When I first started, all I wanted to do was get it, break it, and the closest that I got was I did some. I helped Bob Lewis when he was inking his run on Suicide Squad back in the '90s, do background inks, and and I got an opportunity to possibly get in because on a whim I decided, I'm gonna get my portfolio together that I've been working on, and I'm just gonna go to Warner Brothers and go to DC Comics office and just have at it. And a neighbor of mine who knew that I drew, she said, "Oh man, I love your art and everything. I'm gonna support you. Here's $75 so you can afford to take the bus back and forth and grab yourself something to eat while you're there." So I go to the office. I go up there, and it's like incredible, on the avenues of America. You take the elevator all the way up. You walk out. There's a statue of Superman right there, and you're like, holy cow, this is it. I'm here, Warner Brothers, the whole nine yard. I go walk up to the where the receptionist is, and she's like, "Who are you here to see?" I don't have an appointment. And she's like, "What do you mean you don't have an appointment?" I said, "No, I don't have an appointment. I'm just here. I have my portfolio. I want to show people." And she's like, "Look, no one does this. All right. No one just walks up and so long story short, she said, just hold on a minute. So she had me wait for about half an hour. This guy comes out named Neil Posner. Neil Posner was
Yeah.
the creative. You remember Neil Posner? He was a creative director for DC Comics for a while, and I showed him my stuff. And at the time, I was heavily influenced by that Image look. Rob Liefeld was doing his run on the X-Men, on and doing his. Why am I drawing a blank on his stuff right now? But anyway, you
This is
understand. He was
Deadpool,
doing,
Cable.
yeah, Deadpool, all that stuff, right? X-Force and all that. So I was influenced by that, some Jim Lee and everything. And plus, up until that point, I had been doing underground comics, especially, like the underground comics that were sold in head shops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, my work, which is a little bit more, traditional comic book, a little bit more illustrated, was right alongside tattoo artist work, in the vein of Ed Hardy. And so he comes out, and he just calls me in. First thing he says, "Man, that is a ballsy ass move. What in the world would you invest you to just?" I said, I just decided I wanted to do it. So he looks at my portfolio, and he just berating me for about a half hour about, "Wow, why are you drawing like this? And you shouldn't be drawing this. You have something there, but you got to stop drawing like Rob Liefeld." Rob Liefeld must have just. I think he might have just finished his run on Hawk and Dove and probably left DC Comics with bad taste in the mouth for him. So anyway, long story short, he says, "All right." He gives me a script, and then he said, "I want you to work on this. Get these samples together." And I left. I was on cloud nine. Just
Yeah, he gave
zooming.
you something.
He gave me something, right? So I get the pencils together. I put them, and I send an email. I say, "All right, I'm heading out. I'm gonna drop these off." And I didn't hear a response. Next thing I know, I find out that he had succumbed to AIDS and passed away. So I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
wow. So that was as close as I got to breaking in to DC Comics. Uh, and then I just kind of like, wow, I guess I'm never meant to break into this big company. So I decided, well, I'm just gonna do indie work. You know, people know. So I've been doing indie comics for like 27 years now.
That's a long time.
It is. And it's a slow burn, you know, trying to build an audience and stuff. But you know, so people they up, especially up north area, they know who I am and everything, and it's kind of nice, you know. I got fans, right? But down here, I live in Florida now. No one knows who I am, and then of course I moved down here, and then the very next year when I'm planning on doing all these cons, COVID hits. So
Yeah, yeah. Cons have taken a heavy hit. I mean,
oh, no
that's where
doubt.
you're supposed to take your inks and show it to publishers when they went to cons, because I mean, I'm old enough to remember going to the Chicago Comic Con and Wizard Worlds. Well, what became Wizard World? It was just Chicago Comic Con then, and there was a DC booth, there was a Marvel booth, Archie Comics was there, every comics publisher in the world was there with their artists. You were lining up and getting signatures, not paying for any of them, mind you. You were just lining up and getting signatures. And now it's like they go to San Diego, they go to New York, and I don't know where else they go, because they sure don't go to Wizard World. No publisher goes to comic book conventions that I go to anymore.
Which is unfortunate. And their artists go there, but you know, the publishers need to have a presence, you know. But with the way things are now, you know, every comic that is made or whatever, people want to, it's like, oh, it's going to be a movie, it's going to be this. So they're focusing on that. They've given too much love to Hollywood. But Hollywood, it's weird, their relationship with comics, they don't really love comics back as much as, you know, as comics loves them. Like, I love Hollywood as far as movies go, not necessarily the culture of Hollywood, but I love movies. I love movies of all different types, and I draw a lot of inspiration from that. And lately, over the last 10 years, Hollywood has done that also, but they're not drawing inspiration. To me, they're more like they're kind of just dredging through there and just pulling out whatever they feel they can make money on, and then but they don't understand how it works together. It's symbiotic, or at least should be.
Yeah, Hollywood's paying for it, and like you said, there's no love from Hollywood for the comic industry. Hollywood's not looking for a wife; they're looking for a whore, and
Yeah.
they'll give you the money and take the stuff, and then they're done with it. But we have Deltaverse Comics, the big orange square here in the chat. Can you hear us? Because we can't hear you.
Maybe he doesn't have his camera on. I don't know.
Are you hearing anything from him?
No.
Send us a link in the
Oh, he
private
said
chat.
he's got camera issues.
Uh-oh. Well, you can turn the camera off and just use an avatar. But,
Yeah.
But he also has microphone issues. Neither one of us can hear him. That's okay. Yeah, he muted and unmuted. Tell you what, I'm going to take you out and bring you in. Sometimes that fixes microphone problems, because that is just a StreamYard kind of thing. How about now? Can we hear you now? We cannot hear you now. Oh, man. Finally, somebody with a computer and worse shape than mine. We'll get something worked out. Use your phone, man. Use your phone.
He's a pretty savvy guy with computers and stuff, so he'll figure it out.
Mine is 6 years old, so StreamYard is the only thing I can run on it if I'm running StreamYard. Nothing. I can't even have Notepad open to read notes. In fact, to actually stream what you're seeing of me, I'm a guest on the show. I have to come in through a guest link on my phone and use its camera and microphone and just leave. I mean, like, here's the hosting window right there. That's if I wanted to talk through that and use that camera. But I take it out and it's just all guest driven. Because if I start using the camera and the microphone of the PC, we will have more lags than Ethan Van Sciver during a thunderstorm.
Yeah. So
the cool thing is, though, that the laptop, I can go blue screen on the laptop now, and the chat will continue on. We won't be affected by it at all. I just won't be able to like bring somebody else in or respond to a chat until the computer comes back up. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, who's going to talk to us about Johnny's Law then, Caesar? Because you're the only one here who's
Well,
here.
I mean, yeah, I can certainly do that. I know enough about it. I don't know if um, if Alex just wants to. Oh, maybe he's going in and out again. If you
He's
wanted
going
to
to door
type
to
something in
door.
the chat, maybe, or in the comments, that's kind of. I feel bad. Hope he gets that
He'll be
figured
here.
out. All right. Well, anyway, so here's the thing with Johnny's Law. So I was working on Chango, which is a comic that I put out, via Kickstarter, and I'm in the process of finishing fulfillment on that now. I've got about, I'd probably say about 80% of the people have gotten their books. There's a couple illustrations I need to finish up, and that sort of thing. Then the whole thing will be fulfilled. Um, so I had just finished that up, and I had met Alex through CG Delta, and which is a place where, if you're CG or whatever, you don't necessarily need to be CG or whatever, but it's like a place where it's kind of safe, where you can go and discuss kind of things, all right, and promote things that you like, whether they're on CG or not. Okay, I wasn't CG, but I got along with a few of the guys there, got to kind of know, and they were, kind enough to promote some of the works that I was doing. And I met Alex through there, and he started talking to me about this project, and I can't remember if I had him on when I was doing a show similar to this, or if I had just kind of taken it upon myself to do an illustration of his character. And so I did that because I thought the concept was pretty cool, and I sent that out to him. He was like, "Oh man, I love this. This is awesome. It's great," in the whole 9 yards. Um, and so he said, "Hey, I'm doing this Indiegogo campaign. It's not going to be for a while, but what I want to do is do this 10-page prequel that I want to put out there for people. If they sign up for the email list when we launch the campaign, they'll be able to get the prequel for free." So I was like, "All right, yeah. I mean, I can do that. I had some time in my schedule to do 10 pages, so we went back and forth on the script, on the layouts, and stuff like that, and then I started working on the pages, got that done, and he's in the meantime he had Ibai Canales on to do the main story. Ibai's done stuff for what's the thing that he worked?
Richard Meyer.
Yeah, Richard Meyer's two books. The Two Cycles one that he just finished up, and then I forget what the first one was called. Should be better about this, but my brain.
Yeah, and I know it too, but it's not
It's
one that I
Iron
back. So
something.
Iron Sights.
Iron Sights, yeah, Iron Sights. That's what it was. And so he was on a campaign as well. And I said, "Oh, that's kind of cool." Ibai's a very interesting fellow. He's kind of like, I'm Ibai Canales. This is who I am. Like me or love me. This is what you get. Kind of guy, which is it's really cool. He's really cool that way. Yeah, so here we are, all these months later, and now the campaign is getting ready to launch in 3 days, which is pretty exciting. It's always exciting to launch a campaign, but at the same time, you're white knuckling and biting your fingernails and everything. So,
Oh yeah. Now, is this the first time you participated in a crowdfunded comic?
Oh no, I've got
Okay.
I've got a decent little history of it. I worked on a creator-owned book with Delta's. He's trying to get back on.
He's trying. I see the orange square.
I hear
heard
sound.
a bit of static. Is this an ASMR broadcast? Alex. He's the phantom of the podcast. We know he's there, but
maybe he could use his phone. Wonder if I don't know if he's using a web.
he can use his iPhone because
Yeah,
obviously that's what I'm using.
yeah. If he's got
So that,
if he's got an iPhone, it'll work.
but you know what? If he wants to share, if he wants to screen share some of the work, it's going to be a lot harder
Oh,
right
he
now.
said it's not that. Oh, Bud, man. I hope you can get this figured out.
Ouch. Well, but you have crowdfunded before, so
Yeah. So so I did this 10-issue maxi series called The Red 10 with me and writer Tyler James that we produced and published through his imprint called Comics Tribe. And it was actually the very first book that we did under the Comics Tribe banner. And we put out the first crowdfunded book was that we did. His kids ran off with his graphic card. Hey, there's
he said his
Canales.
kids ran off with things. I said I hate when my kid runs off with my graphics card. Hey, it's Ebi.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going?
Hey, what's
Doing
up,
well.
Eli?
Alex is having technical issues.
Yes, I heard.
I'm gonna take this off your face here, man, because that's just I'm being just rude leaving that display up there. I gotta fix that so it's not quite so big. There we go. Get your sunbeam going.
The rugged Hispanic looks of the Canales.
There you go.
I'm just trying to make as many women as possible pregnant when I'm here.
Yeah, I heard that you were walking down the main avenue of your road, and women were just getting pregnant by you looking at them. I don't know. Is that real or is that mystery?
I have an answer to that, but I've been told that I shouldn't speak about it without my lawyer being present.
Oh, of course. The paternity suits must be going.
Yeah, and I heard that they came up with this really new paternity DNA thing test, and I just don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk it.
Yeah. You know who had a real problem with that was young Clark Kent. In his teenage years when he was entering puberty, and because Kryptonian sperm, they don't just die 3 seconds after they leave, and one
Can you
assumes that,
imagine that? Can you imagine what would happen if he dropped his seed into a field?
Well, there had to be shotgun blast holes in the wall of his bedroom when he was a teenager, because he had incredible restraint.
I'm thinking about corn stalks with really buff branches.
That would be crazy. You wouldn't be able to cut them with a saw or anything.
But yeah, all those Kryptonian sperm would just fly all over Smallville, separate, head towards Metropolis. Women would be getting pregnant right and left without knowing what happened because
it's probably a good thing that he's like a Boy Scout, because if he did orgies, it would be a lot of crazy kids out there.
Yes.
I gotta say, I'm surprised that the subject of this conversation was so interesting. I wasn't expecting that. Kryptonian sperm.
Well, I don't know. You've kind of brought that out somehow.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe I started it. I don't know.
Yeah, somehow whenever I'm present, everyone ends up talking about bodily fluids for some reason.
Right. For the El Guapo knows the Canales, and the Canales knows the El Guapo.
We're a bunch of broad-minded cats around here.
Oh man, I'm really hurt that Alex isn't with us on the cast. Yeah, he'll get it together. He just got to hunt his kid.
He's got to find out. Okay, what other part of the computer did you steal?
Oh man. Well, anyway, let me just quickly finish. So we did the first 5 issues of the Red 10 and collected that, and we put that out on Kickstarter, and we made like $13,000 on that.
That's not bad.
On that campaign, we were able to do like a hardcover and everything. It was really nice. And then I finished the series, and just last year we put out the second part, the second 5 issues, and on that one we raised like $18,000 on that campaign. So, for Kickstarter is pretty good. A couple guys that.
Yeah, man.
And so then I was done with that. I decided I want to do my own thing, and so I've got Chango out. We did a Kickstarter for that and made some money. I've dipped my toe. There he is.
Hey,
Can you actually hear me though?
Oh,
Yes, and
we're
see
halfway
you.
there. I can see him.
I have to do it on my iPhone, but it's janky. I really don't like it at all. But yeah.
I'm doing it on my iPhone.
Yeah,
And
no,
I'm
but
hosting.
it keeps breaking up and staticky, and
Oh, you're not on your house
I was
Wi-Fi?
I started doing YouTube in 2015, and I got like a channel with over 5,000 subscribers. So like I get pissed off because I have the mic, I have all the whole setup, but when I can't find stuff or when things like don't go right, that makes me mad at myself because I know how to do all this stuff backwards and forwards. So when it doesn't work, that's like really aggravating. So
I hear you. I have to host myself on the iPhone because I was saying my laptop is so old. If I try to do anything cool like introductory videos, I've been
yeah.
finding out that I've got an intro video. I'll go live. I'll run the video and then I'll jump in, and I won't have any audio unless I take myself out and bring myself back in. But I won't know I have
Right.
audio until I bring the guest on and they say, "Dude, I didn't hear a thing you said."
Yeah.
So,
So what's up? I mean, after all that,
well,
hopefully you can hear
we're
me
20
good,
minutes
though.
into the show about Johnny's Law. We haven't even met Johnny
I
yet.
know,
So,
right? Yeah, exactly. I haven't even met him. He said he wasn't going to show up just because all of the problems. But anyway, so my name's Alex, and Johnny's Law is the campaign. It's an elite assassin, and he has one rule: no women, no children. And there is someone that's working with these machinations in the background through other employers that he's had before. Well, unbeknownst to even them, that he's moving Johnny into a position to try to get him to break his rule. And there's a reason why, but Johnny refuses, and which sets off a whole chain reaction. So it ends up with him trying to protect this kid in this deadly Texas town.
gotcha. I love assassins with
Yeah.
rules. Did you ever see a
Yeah,
comic
right.
book series called Scud, the Disposable Assassin?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. I never read very much, like beyond the first two issues, and it's been so long ago, but I've heard of it though.
Yeah. For everybody who's not heard of it, Scud was it was a future story where if you wanted to hire an assassin, you put money in a vending machine, and a robot
Mm-hmm.
assassin would step out, and it would go. You'd give it the target. It would go hit the target and kill it, and then it would self-destruct. Which you did what its job was. Well, Scud finds its target, shoots it, damages it almost to death, and then as he's trying to go for the final blow, he turns around and he reads the label on his butt that says this unit self-destructs upon completion of target, and he's like, shit. So he's taking on side jobs to keep his original target alive in the hospital so that he doesn't self-destruct.
Oh wow, that's a really good. For some reason that kind of I don't know why, but it reminded me of Crank,
yeah,
the movie series. Yeah, it kind of made me think about that.
yeah.
And
I
then of
almost
course,
thought
Which was a great idea in and of itself.
I always thought that Crank came like 10 years late, that it should have been like a 90s action movie. And I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe they were like keeping it in development hell that long, but it really felt like it should have been like a 1998 movie, something like that. And Scott is really 90s too.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
the other
definitely a
assassin that
90s
doesn't
idea.
do the other assassin that doesn't do kids is Remo Williams, the Destroyer, whom I
See,
have a great love for.
I just watched that movie the other day on Saturday.
now we're starting to zone in towards where all these ideas come from for me. But yeah.
Dudes, I'm the writer.
Oh, for real?
Really?
For right now, I am. Yeah, these
that's
are my
awesome.
books.
Wait, what? You're the guy writing Remo?
Yes, I'm writing Remo Williams right now.
Holy shit!
And I
I've
are
done the
very
last 3 books.
See,
My dad loves the movie. He doesn't know it's a series
Yeah.
of books.
Oh, the
He
movie's
really
great.
liked the
Fred
movie
Ward.
books, I think. Yeah, the one in which the old master
he was-
runs over the water because that good.
They're
in Kung Fu.
working. Shane Black is attached to direct the next one. They're trying to do another one right now.
I don't
got
know
a
if that's
screenplay
good
in.
because the Predator sucks. But okay, I guess.
He was okay.
I mean,
for
I
what we
did like
had.
the comedy aspect of the Predators, but everything else is. I think it's because all the problems that they had with some cast member or something like that. I think it kind of ruined things because they had to do reshoots and
I don't think it's entirely Shane's fault because I actually liked Iron Man 3. I think I'm probably one of the only 3 people in the entire planet who like that movie. I thought it was funny.
I'll
So
watch it.
I-
If it's
It was
on,
good.
I'll watch it. Yeah.
yeah,
If you
I
want to
think it
get a
was-
good idea for what Shane Black will do with the Destroyer, watch The Nice Guys, because that was
Yeah,
another
that's-
one of his books, and it's very.
yeah. I mean,
70s.
actually, the Last Boy Scout is one of my favorite neo-noir movies, and it's it's really my hymn. And it's I
Which
think
one?
he does the whole the Last Boy Scout with Bruce
Oh yeah.
Willis and
Oh,
what's his name, black
that's
guy.
another
Yeah,
one.
it's a great. I mean, Bruce Willis.
This is about to
Good
be
time.
a really long stream.
Yeah,
We're talking assassins.
Man, dude,
Well,
I love. Look, favorite. Cause okay, it was my dad who first showed me Last Boy Scout, right? And he was really, really strict. And so we didn't have TV during the week. It was bed at 8 o'clock, and one day it's evening time and he calls me down. It's after bedtime. I'm already laying down. And then he's like, sit down. And I was like, okay. I thought I was in trouble. And then he puts the movie on and we start watching. And I'm like, what is this? And so ever since then, that movie was like, it's one of those things like Remo, where it's just a whole part of the fabric and the texture that goes on in my head when I think of stories, because I really like when he's like, you touch me again, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite scenes. And then when he dances the jig.
Yeah, that's iconic. That's iconic. The if you touch me again, I'll kill you scene. That's freaking iconic.
Yes, so much. Yeah, I love that. And the doll or the bear or whatever with the gun. With the gun in it, yeah, that's a classic too. I love that.
So all of these assassins are going on in your head while you're putting together Johnny's Law.
Yeah, I would say that they kind of all live in the same space. Yeah, pretty much. Because it, like, when I originally introduced the idea to Ibai, it was the first thing that he said was it kind of made him think of The Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis, which isn't, it's another Bruce Willis movie. And that's kind of the idea that kind of popped in my head at first. But this was back in '97 when I thought of the idea. And it was supposed to be a movie, and it's somewhat, well, it's a considerable amount different from what it was when I first came up with it, and I changed things around. But it was still like that whole thing sort of, the assassins, the sort of the spaghetti western, ninjas, American Ninja, all those types of things that I watched growing up, and just kind of all the fun stuff, and putting it all together. That's why I always say it's like this good feeling of a great 80s, 90s action movie, John Woo and all of that, So that was something that he was really interested in as well. And so it just kind of went from there. And then Caesar came in because I was just like, well, what if I do some kind of a freebie thing for everyone, but at the same time kind of give a prequel to what happens or how he even gets towards the direction of going to New York, which is where he starts off in this one. So.
Yeah. And Caesar had mentioned that was what he had done before everybody else found the channel here. So I just want to remind everybody who's watching in the chat, the very first link in the description below is the link to the newsletter sign up for John's Law. If you sign up for that newsletter, you will be getting the 10-page prequel comic when you get the comic on Indiegogo when it goes live, which is any day now, or is it still?
Yeah, 3 days. In 3 days, yeah, on the 15th. Yeah, and you also Caesar and Caesar's done his, and Abai's working on his, but both of them have artwork for a trading card that's going to be double-sided, and that's going to be a freebie as well. That's going to go out. So, and I'm coloring that as I'm pretty much coloring everything else, So.
All right. Now, Alex, you've got a .com here, Deltaverse Comics. So I'm going to assume you've done comics. You've either done comics before, or you've got a lot of faith in this one.
Well, okay.
And maybe both.
So the thing is that I'm 44 and I went to Art Institute Houston a long time ago. And, I wanted to get into comic book illustration. That was my goal. And then I went out to LA, and that's kind of where it really just started. Not my career necessarily, but like the whole chase began, right? So once I got there to LA, you know, I kind of learned what it meant when people say, like, you know, oh, we got this great idea, and you know, and yet at a time where it's not like this. It's like everybody knows that they're going in on this, and if something happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't, right? But because of the way things are, is more likely a chance that, you know, some money will be made. But you didn't have that back then. You had to, you know, think, well, we're going to get through a publisher, or we're going to be able to sell it to the big two, or, you know, Image or whatever, you know. And so I had a lot of those false starts, and then with my life the way it was, just kind of, I moved away from comics. So it went into music production, audio engineering, and all that. So after that, I just had given it up, you know, and it wasn't until I discovered Comicsgate in 2018 and the whole crowdfunding model, that's when I decided to do it again, you know. But part of that was I just figured it's not that expensive to get, and this is something I guess I would recommend to others. It's not that expensive to get yourself a domain name, you know, and because you can direct it to your pre-launch page, you know, and then you get a MailChimp account, you know, for everyone. That's just easy game to give you. You know, that way you're able to funnel people, and then you have a site that if you decide later that you want to just make it a full-fledged site, if you want to add a shopping capability, whatever, you have that option, since it's not that much to keep it up every year, you know. But yeah, I was definitely
it's like
definitely
what, 25 for the domain?
No, actually, mine was I think mine was like 8 or 12 or something like that, somewhere around there.
Dude, I got my bill reminder here. I got this Friday. I got to pay 25 for my domain registration and 72 for my annual hosting. I got $100 to shell out.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I went through Namecheap, so I don't know. I mean, I just went and researched. You know, I kind of got in this thing where it doesn't matter if it's a smartphone, whatever. I'll like watch a bunch of reviews, and I always wait until like I can't wait anymore, and then I finally pick something. But that's the one that I came up with, and it's pretty cheap. And they give you WordPress support and all that type of stuff. So, you know, for expanding it later. But yeah, definitely have a lot of faith in the book. The goal is fixed at 5,000. If we don't hit it, then we're just going to relaunch again. Everybody's going to get their money back, and then we'll just relaunch again. You know, because one of the things that I discovered with watching other campaigns is that it depending, like some people just don't, you know, it may not be ready for prime time. Let's just say that. But then you've got others that it may either for whatever reason didn't get enough promotion, or, you know, or there were some things that they didn't quite figure out the first time around. But then once they take that time off, they go and cry in the corner, and then they come back with a plan, and then they promote, and then it ends up doing better, you know, the second time around. But even the failure gives you eyes. It puts people's eyes on what you're doing, and then if you do, you can come back and, you know, and do even better the next time around.
It's never a win or lose, it's a win or learn.
Yeah. And I think Caesar, I think he had somewhat of an experience like that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. But
no, you're right, because I launched that Chango on Indiegogo, and it wasn't getting a lot of traction.
Right.
I was like, no, you know, I thought I was promoting it enough and everything. So I said, all right, well, you know, I think that at that time, Indiegogo, you know, people were saying, oh, it's just CG only, and you're only CG. And I'm like, well, I don't think so. I think I see other comics other than CG that are on there, and they're doing okay. But so I said, fine, I'll just go ahead and you know, I talked with our partner. I said, well, you know, let's launch it on Kickstarter. People have bought my books on Kickstarter, so maybe that'll do it. And then, you know what? I mean, Alvin, it funded. So, you know, not saying one way or another about either platform. I know that when I launch my next book, Gods and Soldiers, that's going to be on Indiegogo. All right.
Ooh,
I
I
just
like
want to
that.
get
Yeah.
some more work on that, promote it, get the email list going for that, and I'll launch it on Indiegogo. At this point, I'm you know I I have nothing but good things to say about the people that I've met in CG. I have a lot of friends that are not CG. They're from that other side. But my thought is that, well, you know what? To me, it's kind of stupid because if you listen to what the CG people were saying and what they stand for, it's like, I mean, I remember when we were like hanging out like 15, 20 years ago, you were kind of like believing the same thing, stuff. Like what happened? And so,
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I find
realistically,
weird?
yeah, go ahead, RJ.
Well, what I find weird is that it's not weird, but it's just an observation. If you are, I'm just going to say anti-CG just to make the differential.
Right.
I know it's not a real thing, but if you're anti, I see more people in anti-CG that will not talk to you if you're CG. And I see more people in CG that will still talk to you if you're
Right.
anti-CG,
Right.
Yeah.
or at
Because
least
Yeah.
not CG.
that's because we're rational and we're not unhinged ideological lunatics like the guys in anti-CG. I mean, we just want pretty normal things. Don't cram bullshit far left propaganda into our comics.
Right.
The art and the story are as important as the message, and just don't insult customers. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
you can have far left politics in a comic book, especially if you're making a superhero out of the amazing AOC, or you want Joe Biden to be a superhero, or you just want to do like a Green Arrow comic because that's who the character is.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's this baloney sauce where they take an existing character and you're like, okay, I want to tell my story using this character, but that's not what that character is or what he does. Well, I don't care because everyone's reading this character, and that's the only way they're going to listen to my messages if I use his mouth.
And that
Right.
really is
Yeah.
lazy. That's lazy. That's just being. It's like you can tell your story if you want to tell it so bad. You create your own characters, but what happens is a lot of people in the safety net of these established characters want to force their philosophies onto it, their thoughts, how they would see these characters, which in a certain sense gives you that, as a writer, you can have freedom, but you need to not forget is that these characters have been established for decades. For you to go in and think that you can just usurp 80-year plus of history with these characters because you have a particular story to tell, but doing in the mainstream line of comics, to me, it smells of conceit, of thinking you're better than everyone else, thinking that you're
Right.
better than the characters that have been established. I appreciate a guy like, sometimes if you listen to Alex when he's reparteeing back and forth with people, you may not understand. He may come off like, man, that was kind of harsh, Alex. But I think Alex, just like a guy like Ebi, who always puts it out right out there, they let you know, listen, I just want good stories. I want to tell the stories that I want to tell. And I think that if either of you guys were given the opportunity to work in the big two on characters, you guys would respect the characters for what they are. Tell your stories within the context of those characters instead of trying to force a philosophy out.
Tell me why when you said like the most important stuff you had to say right now about me, right? It all turned robot. The whole stream turned robot during the whole time. So I didn't end up hearing anything you just said, but I know it was good though. But yeah,
That's because you got that weak audio signal.
Yeah. So when you were talking about they want to force their stuff on everyone else, like how we can get along with them, as long as they're not being like that, I mean, a perfect example to me is like what was his name? I think the character's name was Malik or something like that in was it Boys in the Hood? And he was the one that was trying to tell them all this stuff, like, man, you brother shouldn't do this, and we should, and so he's like trying to kick knowledge to him, and they're always like, man, shut up, man, don't come over here with that or whatever, right? So anti-CG to me kind of reminds me of that character where, for on our side, where not necessarily our views or us being like the other characters, but in the fact that they tolerate him, you know, and they have him around. They still consider him a friend, right? Even though he doesn't, you know, espouse the same views that they do, and that they all always disagree on something, but they're still always friends. You see what I mean? And that's something that we don't, you know, that they're not capable of doing. They're just not, you know.
I haven't seen anybody in CG sit there and say, "Hey, I really like your work, but damn, you wrote a story that you let Tess Fowler draw. You can't come around us here anymore."
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's some instances, I guess, maybe, you know, that some people have been like that, and I can understand the passion, right? And I can understand also the not, you know, we don't want anything to seep in and like ruin that aspect. But just like Richard Meyer, your boy Zach, there's been plenty of times that he's reviewed books and he's just been like, "Hey, this is great. You know, the story was great, the artwork was good, you know," and maybe he had a couple things that, you know, little nitpicks here and there like he usually does, but overall it was great, and that's being unbiased. That's how being unbiased
the good thing
works.
about Richard, the good thing about Richard, and I work with him, and I have suffered his perfectionism in the flesh, is that he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. I mean, whenever if he has to tell you that your drawing sucks, he will tell you, "I don't want to be mean, but your drawing sucks." Like he's not the biggest, like the biggest people guy, but he tries. He knows that much that he's not supposed to hurt you. He's not supposed to hurt people, and he's just, you know, when he makes a video, he's just trying to be playful. But they accuse him of being like this soulless psychopath that enjoys tormenting people. No,
Right.
no, you pricks, that's you.
Yeah, it's projecting. It's always projecting. Always,
He's
because
the closest to Clark Kent that I've met in real life, minus the superpowered sperm that we were talking about.
And that's a good thing. It is. It really is. It's rare that you meet people like that. You know what I mean? They always have like some sort of little idiosyncrasy that, you know what I mean, that kind of balances it out.
Yeah.
And his is like, when sometimes I'm sitting there, you know, being an artist myself, even though it's a long story why I'm not doing my own stuff, but the point is that being an artist myself, and he'll say something about something art wise, and I'm just like, there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine, you know. But he's entitled to his opinion, right?
Yeah,
just like I'm entitled to mine. But it's still, you know, that's just his thing, you know. And just like with movies, you know, he loves all the movies that everybody else is like, "Man, what are you talking about?"
Yeah.
You know, those movies are horrible, but he loves them, you know.
I remember when he
somebody's
mentioned
gotta
that he
like 'em.
actually liked. I remember when he mentioned that he actually liked The Last Jedi. He was like, "Ryan Johnson is my boy," and I was like, "Dude, no." What are you doing right
I
now?
guess I missed that one.
Oh yeah, no.
He probably deleted that stream.
I was like,
I might have
which
missed
movie
it.
did
I
you
might have
watch?
missed it. Maybe Ryan's head was in the way. Maybe that's why I missed it.
Yeah, he watched the Lucas cut of The Last Jedi.
Yeah, exactly.
He was out getting popcorn.
True.
He was looking through the door at what he thought was The Last Jedi, and it was actually another movie.
Yeah. He was like, "Oh, this is good," you know.
I didn't know
Yeah,
Sandra Bullock was in The Last Jedi. Damn, she's hot.
I always await his Splato channel, the movie reviews. I'm like, "Oh, there's a notification. Okay, let's see what awful movie he's gonna be reviewing, or he's gonna be in love with today," you know. But yeah. So with this book, you know, I really just when I said that it was different from the original, the 1997, like the idea, which had never been written down, this was just something tumbling around in my head. It's because I added there's a theme that starts in this book, and it's going to stretch. There's 3 total, right?
Okay.
And it stretches into the next 2 books, and it's something that I feel like is you don't see very often in comics as far as that I've seen. But I don't want to give it away. I hate to do that, but I can't give it away. But basically, the first book is called Johnny's Law, right? The prequel is Ronin, right? And then The second book is called Johnny's Law Rebel, and then the third one is going to be called The Master's Law, right? So what we're seeing, other than that underlying theme, right, is the top theme as far as like the because that's the subtext. So the rest of it is that main theme, you know, the character arc, you know, the hero's journey, and so it's the evolution between Johnny the killer and Johnny the man, you know, and how he gets there from one book to the other, you know, which is typical, you know, but at the same time, I'm trying to do something where I'm using this subtext, right? But I'm also kind of drawing off of like one of the things about the old movies that I used to watch, like the Kung Fu theater and stuff on the weekends, you know. Yeah. I always loved the ones where if it was like Jackie Chan or one of the other guys, where they meet the master who's going to teach them, you know. And so there's always that whole scene where they play the you know, up tempo music, and he's out there like the master's on his back and he's doing push-ups, and then he's hitting him with the little, you know, stick or whatever, and getting him to do the things, and you know, he's like, oh, you know, and doing all that. So that is the kind of the essence of what I'm kind of weaving into this towards the last two books, you know, where he becomes that, you know. And so you know, that whole thing where, you know, the person attacks him and then they, you know, they slip to the side and, you know, they run into a wall or whatever, you know, just trying to learn how to not to be, you know, to be able to have skills to not be violent, you know. But at the same time, being so powerful that, you know, there's hardly a foe that's worthy of you, you know. And so that's kind of where it's going for the next two books. But for this one here, it's 50 pages, and that's going to include, I believe, like 6 pages that Bahai's going to put in for like sketch process type stuff to kind of, you know, let everybody see what either didn't make it or development, you know, in that aspect. And then
60
the
pages
10-page
is a
prequel.
good thick book. Yeah, 60 pages plus the 10-page prequel. So that's 70 pages of comic if you sign up.
So here's the thing: the prequel, as it stands, is going to be digital, right?
Okay.
But if we reach a certain goal, then what I'm going to do is put in the 10 pages, and it'll be printed, of course, to be in front of the main story, and you know, I have a nice little, you know, page in between, you know what I mean, and kind of like transition out from one part to the next.
How do you guys like prequels? And then by prequels, I mean, how do you like to watch them? Do you like to watch the main story first and then go back to see the prequel with the informed version of where it's going, or do you say, you know what, right, I want to see the prequel first and follow it chronologically forward?
Well, me personally, I kind of can go either way, right? But it's kind of you have to see it before you even know that you wanted it that way. For me, like I could see it and then see the prequel afterwards and be like, well, I would have rather seen the prequel first, you know. But in this case, with the way this has been done, my editor Spike Valentine, we tried to make it sort of its own self-contained story so that you could see it, or rather read it before the rest of it, and it still makes sense. But then there's just one element that ties it to the next story. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think cool. I think that's how it's supposed to be. I mean, I think every story should be like self-contained, and the reader should be able to enjoy them like separately, whether if they had a continuation or not. But I personally like to see the movies or the stories, I mean, in the order in which they came out, because I want to believe that the creators, that's how they intended you to watch them. You know, that George Lucas, for example, wanted you to see A New Hope as if it was like an introduction to the universe through the eyes of like, you know, this young kid that has never been outside his planet. And you know, that's like the starting point, because you know, because we're all familiar with Star Wars, but if you took some uninitiated guy and made him watch the prequels first, he will like, what the hell is going on? What are these robots? Why do these guys have like laser swords? You know?
Yeah. It's a good introduction. Yeah, definitely.
So we haven't seen any artwork yet, and Alex, since you're on a phone, you have no capability of sharing a screen. I know because I'm on a phone. I can't share a screen.
I can
Eli,
send.
do you
I
got
can
any
send
artwork
it to
there?
you, or if he has it.
I have all the pages here. I mean, if you want to see them, you just have to ask.
Let's see some. Let you host it because if I
Okay,
host it, we'll crash.
I can guarantee you anything because I'm a premature boomer. But yeah, if you see any like questionable porn links, that's not me. I'm just holding it for
This better not be porn.
There you go. Okay, give me a second. Oh man, this is full of albums. I mean, I've been drawing comics for like 2 years nonstop now, and I never deleted anything. Okay.
You bring up a screen full of Iron Sights artwork. Yeah, let's.
Okay, let's try this.
All right.
I'm sharing.
It's coming.
I see it
to the stream.
Okay, yeah. Be careful now. Be careful now, because we can't like.
Yeah. No, I don't want to spoil anything. Yeah.
Just
so
like
you can see, right?
Or two. Yeah, that's all the thumbnail. Okay. Like a page or two is all we want to see.
Okay, I'll show you some snippets where you can see this.
You know, when I'm sitting here warning them, I'm thinking of that Dave Chappelle skit where Dave Chappelle is the president, and he's talking about the yellow cake. You know, we got the yellow cake right here, and he brings it out in the napkin or whatever. But you need to watch out. It's this yellow cake. You know.
Oh, man.
Okay, I'm sharing snippets now. I'm sharing snippets so as to not to spoil anything for our potential readers.
All right, trying to add it here. There we go. Oh, nice. Now we're up. And this is Johnny.
Yes, sir. Johnny is Asian and black. And I say black. I know some people like say African American or whatever, but like where I grew up in Houston, and that's just how we said it. You know, it was never like a difference to us. You're American just because you're here. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I never understood that. I mean, if you're white in America, where are you? Like European American?
Right, exactly.
I am Caucasian. I long to return to the motherland, Caucasia, wherever that is.
Right, exactly.
I think it's at war with Oceania right now.
To the Caucasus.
It's at war with Oceania. Oh, yeah, we've always been at war with Oceania.
Yeah. When people give me a hassle about it, I just say my kids are half black, so please don't tell me nothing.
I actually have a book series here somewhere. God, this is 30 years ago. Was some friends who were independent publishers, a book called Tap from Prometheum Studios. And the lead character was half black and half Asian, because the guy who's writing it was Air Force, and his wife was half black and half Asian. And she got powers from Native American something or other. So it was really everything all over the board.
Yeah, so like myself, I'm half Hispanic, half Jewish. I mean, part Hispanic, part Jewish, and part Indian. So that's like thirds more than anything.
Those are like those wonderful mixtures that you can only find in the U.S., like third Puerto Rican, third Irish, third Italian. But I'm also a Satanist.
I did the whole ancestry thing. And gosh, I got Irish on one side, goes all the way back to Robert the Bruce in Scotland. I've got a Blackfoot Indian chief on another tangent, and then on my mother's side, back to the Irish side, I hit a vein, and all of a sudden I'm getting things like way back, I'm getting like Japheth and Noah, and I'm like, I know these guys. so I just kept going. It's like, oh, Adam, okay, done, I win, game over.
Yeah. Well, when I met Bai, he came out here in the summertime, and I met up with him. And so after talking to him and like where his family's from and where my family, because they originate all the way from like Garcia, Spain, and so he has family from there. So there's a possibility that we might be related. somewhere
Cool.
along the line, which
Actually,
was interesting, you know.
Yeah, the funny thing about the Garcia surname is that it's actually Basque. It's probably the oldest, most typical Spanish surname, and it's of Basque descent because the Basques are actually like Spanish Aboriginals. So yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
what is
So
the
I
what is
guess
the
I'm a
Spanish
Basque.
surname
I'm
if you
a
have
Basque
4?
puppy. That's what I am.
What sorry?
I'm not a
What
Basque.
is the
I'm
Spanish?
not a Basque hound. I'm a Basque puppy.
Okay, you get that. How do you tell what a Spanish surname is if a person has 4 names? And I'm specifically thinking of DC Comics god, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
Well, that's definitely Spanish. I mean, all of them are Spanish.
Well, sure, but I mean, is his surname Garcia Lopez or is his surname Lopez?
Oh yeah, no. Well, I don't know how he composes his name, but if he's using this, he should be Jose Luis Garcia, and everything else is like secondary. That's your father's name, and Garcia Lopez. I guess Lopez will be like his mother's surname, something like that. So that's how we do it. We don't have like a middle name like Americans do.
Okay. I had no idea, so I didn't know if it was Mr. Garcia Lopez or just Mr. Lopez or however he was.
I think he's
I
Garcia.
want him to come back and
maybe.
do comics.
Oh no, he was great. Is he still alive?
Yes.
I'll find out.
Cool.
And he draws well still. He's amazing. And he
Yeah, no,
never.
What the hell is he not doing?
That man can still draw. One of my all-time favorite things that he's ever worked on, although it had mixed reviews, but everyone loved the art, was Twilight. Probably some of the greatest illustration in comics that you'll ever see. Every page is a masterclass in how to draw and compose a comic book page. It's just incredible.
This DC has a bad habit for decades now and we lost Alex. Maybe he's getting his other computer back from his kids, of having talent out there unused, so to speak. And I say that because we talked about the comic conventions of days past when DC Comics would have a booth and Marvel would have a booth. I was at the Chicago Comic Con in it says 92 here is so I'm going to go with that. I guess it was 92. And I went into this little side booth. You walk down the main aisle and then there's like this rooms off to the side here. Oh, there's like an artist alley in there. Why don't I just pop in there? There's an old guy in the corner, no line, just him and his wife and a painting of the Green Lantern behind him, the Alan Scott one. It's friggin' Sheldon Moldoff sitting there with nobody. And this is when DC was just getting ready to launch Justice Society again, way before the Jeff Johns and run there. And I was like, why aren't you drawing that? And his wife thinks and says, why don't you go tell DC that? But I got him to sign my greatest Batman stories ever told. This is a sad page.
That book's legendary. Yeah.
This is shoot. Let's see if I can do it with it this way without ripping the book to pieces. Obviously, Sheldon Moldoff, Jim Aparo, Dick Sprang.
Yeah.
Julius Schwartz, Denny O'Neil. Yeah, Julius Schwartz, Denny O'Neil, Dave Dorman, Steve Englehart, Bob Rozakis. So they're burying this with me. I'm not doing it for anybody.
That's like a memoir. You can summon the spirit of Bob Kane with that book.
I believe you can. I have the Greatest Joker story too, signed the same way, with Dick Giordano's signature in that one.
He's back.
God, I miss
him.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It just stopped all of a sudden. Like on the link, it said "try again" or something like that. That there was some connection issue, and I don't know what it was.
Well, I'm happy I know with the worst connection tonight for a change.
Yeah, I'll take over tonight. Don't worry.
Well, the artwork looks great, and I like the idea that you got a progression in mind for the 3 issues, going from a very violent man to just a very good man. It kind of reminds me, I'm not going to say it's derivative of it, but it reminds me of the progression of John Wick, as far as the assassin story goes. You're like, okay, I've killed, I'd really like to not kill now and just,
Right.
go be a suburbanite.
Yeah, and I think that's like something that and I'm gonna go ahead and send you some artwork through Twitter. I don't know if you're able. Are you able to do it from there?
Not
Or?
not at this
Okay.
second. I mean, it
Okay.
would take an hour for Twitter to come up right now.
Okay. All right. So don't worry about it. Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, it's you can say some people can say that that's it's a trope or maybe it's cliche or whatever. And I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying I've heard things like that before. But it's just
yeah.
it's something that always works. I mean, because really it's a hero's journey, and we're always interested to see, like, a lot of times, like, women like to see that story, except that most of the time they want to see it within the confines of a nonfiction book, tragedy, adversity, and all that. But most of the time, like for us guys, we want to see it, but we want to see, somebody get their head chopped off, or
Yes.
we want to see ninjas and ninja stars and all that. So, which we do have in the book. So, yeah, that's spices
The
it
men
up.
want to see it from a cool visual effect,
Yeah,
as opposed to the
exactly.
women who want to see it from the emotionally impacting effect. And I know I just made a broad sweeping generalization there, because there's plenty of women there who would go cool if a guy's head got cut off on the film. But
Well, in Comicsgate, they know who they are, and they definitely speak up on it. That's why. That's one of the things I do like about Comicsgate is that they're not tripping that hard. You know what I mean? Like they know, they get it, they already understand. And they're not gonna really like make a big deal. It's just everyone else, that has those views over there. It's always got to be a big issue. It's like a constant game of semantics.
Oh yeah, well now, so Alex, you do align specifically as you identify as a CG creator.
Yeah, definitely, yes. Yeah.
Do you get your regular token check for being the shield for Comicsgate so that they can say that they're inclusive?
I'm still waiting on that.
Because I've interviewed a number of Hispanic, Black, Korean creators on this channel who are all CG, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't interview that many white bread comics creators from Comicsgate. So where are these supremacists here so I can get some information on that side of things?
Look at the panel.
Dude,
You got three men on this panel that are all of
none of us
Hispanic
white.
descent.
None
Not
of us.
one white person in the crowd.
Yeah,
I'm it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm white. I'm white, but I'm a legit ethnic minority from the northern mountains of Spain. So I know that local Nazi chapters hate us.
But you're a minority amongst men, brother.
Yeah.
It's the Canales mantle.
I think there's going to be a lot more CG people appearing in the next year, as there are a lot fewer DC people coming along.
I'm telling you
they're
right
going to be
now,
wanting to work.
This thing that happened with DC Comics is going to make a lot of people rethink everything that they've ever said. Because one of the things that I find distasteful, and especially in this culture that we're in now, whether it's cancel culture, this Hollywood culture, this culture of the quote unquote mainstream people, whatever, is this total
culture.
lack of honor. I mean, honor, dignity, respect. And, these are all things that I value very highly, as a person, as a man. And I don't have to agree with you. But if you're an honorable person, okay, we can interact. I don't have to agree with, but where is that area where we share a common place? And the thing that I find very disheartening is that a lot of the people that were these quote unquote gatekeepers felt that, they basically controlled comics because, hey, we're part of the big two and you're not. And so now that is evaporating, and in essence, it's gone. So what's left? So you look, all right, well, there's a Kickstarter, you can do that. But then there's this other group over here that has creators on there that were with us at one point, and we were kind of dissing on them. They're still viable. We have nothing. So now they have to pivot. Okay.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see how, if they pivot and they start saying, well, maybe, will they say we were wrong? Are they willing to say, maybe I didn't completely understand where you were at? And, the amount of bakers needed to make crow pie is going to be pretty huge, I think.
Yeah.
Well, here's
I think.
my. Well, I was gonna say. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Okay.
I think where I differ in that is that I do believe that there is going to be a shift, but I don't think that because a lot of these people are displaying like serious narc tendencies. So those kind of people are not going to usually they're always going to double down. They're not gonna like do that, right? They'll just keep going away, deflecting away from that, right? But the article that came out the other day about pointing out, not mentioning us, but mentioning us about going independent route and crowdfunding and so on and so forth. As soon as I heard half of that when Ethan was talking about it, the only thing that came to my mind was right there is the backtrack, because this was from I think it was Bleeding Cool. There's the backtrack, and that is where, and I just don't feel like there can't be like they're not involved, like the Whisper Network somewhere in there in getting something like that out there, because now they need to start making their own way into it. But since they've already held this position for so long, they're going to have to convince their SJW far left, audience that this is the way the things should be, and that they are the leaders in it, and then they can start crowdfunding and gain, or imagine that they could gain the type of following and money and
Right.
things like
Right.
that. And I don't believe
Listen,
that that's going to happen. But
well,
anyway, go ahead.
okay, so here's the thing. I happen to know, even though I've never been in the mainstream, I know a lot of creators that are in the quote unquote mainstream. All right. And when I tell you that there's a lot of creators that, and they're not necessarily the main ones, but there's colorists, there's letterers,
Yeah.
there's inkers, there's pencilers, there's writers that are all have been conditioned to be afraid to say something positive about CG because they didn't want to lose what they had.
Yeah, that's
So
what I'm
they
thinking we're going to see.
went along to get along.
That's granted.
And so
That's
now that they have nothing, okay, well, it's like I'll just let it all hang out then.
Yeah.
They'll dip their
Nothing to lose.
But go ahead. I'm sorry, RJ, you were saying
No,
something?
no. I was just gonna say that yes, but I think those are gonna be very few compared to all of the ones that were at the crux of all of this. The whole hubbub or whatever. The whole commotion.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, they may all end up going to Image anyway, right? Because Image, in a certain sense, probably supports they're more in line with that ideology. So they may say, all right, fine, we'll just create for Image, because Image, say what you will about Image, but, as far as having 100% freedom with your characters, they give you that option. You get to keep, they make a certain amount, right? And then you basically have control, but you sink or swim there, okay?
Yeah.
So maybe they'll get some. I think, maybe this quote unquote CG will get some, and then maybe they'll start their own thing. Who knows? All right. Maybe there'll be another avenue for that.
But here's the thing: is that 0% of zero is zero.
And in general, it's going to help independent comics.
Yeah, he was roboting, so I didn't catch that.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Al.
No.
Everybody
What I was
rebutted
going to
there.
say was
Yeah.
zero is zero, right? Now remember, there was that one tweet, and I don't know if it was Mags or who it was that said it about, or was it Heather Antos, about promoting your own, like in any other professional whatever, you have to promote your own books or your own stuff or whatever. The thing is that you're talking about people who the majority of do not have that hustle. They don't have a hustle spirit in them, you know. So, and that's what's really required in CG is the hustle, and the hustle the deepest hustle spirit is that you're gonna think in ways that you're going to be thinking about things that nobody else is going to think about, you know, or ideas you're willing to try because you got nothing to lose, you know. And so,
Yeah.
but a lot of them are so used to
Right.
to being a cog, right? And it's like when back when I used to do when I was doing audio engineering, like highly, I was one of the chief engineers at a studio that was #2 in Houston, right? But the owner was the type of person, he grew up in South Park just like me, okay? Young black man, had a congenital birth defect, and so he had a nub and had to wear prosthetic and all that. He had plenty of struggle in his life, right? But he built himself up. But the mindset that he shared with me, which I kind of already had, but was like he would tell me, when people come here, this is your business. Treat it like it's your business. Don't say anything about me. You don't need to say anything about me. You don't need to introduce. You don't need to do anything. This is your business. You know, when you give out your business cards, that's your business. So if you treat it that way and you get into this mindset where you start looking at it like you're not going to collect a check to keep you in check, you know, you're going and making your own money and making your own way, right? And building confidence in yourself. But that's the things that they have not been conditioned to do. So you get a lot of people that did try to kind of sort of come our way a little bit, and then things don't quite work because there's so much more. They're so used to, I'm just going to draw, right? And then they don't want to do YouTube channels, or they don't want to do Twitter, or you know, they're not, because they never had to worry about that before. So they have not. It is a muscle, and you can build it, but they don't have any real interest in doing that because their whole life is built around someone else handling that function, right? So they don't have to, and they're not. They've never really been in a position where it's like hand to mouth, you know. So that with all of those different aspects, it doesn't give a good breeding ground to be able to do a lot of what we do. And but they can, but they just have to like really throw themselves into it, and they have to be willing to take suggestions and so on and so forth. Because when I was doing like with that studio, I mean, to get business, I mean, I was thinking of all kinds of ideas. I was taking our flyers and I'd go to like Barnes and Noble and I'd put them in the hip hop magazines and the recording gear magazines and things like those subscription cards, put them in there like that. I'd go downtown to all of the newspaper machines on Sundays. I'd pay for one paper, open it, put it inserted in every single paper, close it, and go around and do it to every single one of them. And people are like, oh, I saw your flyer in the newspaper. Like, how'd you guys do that? I just did it. And I didn't care what the repercussions or whatever could come of it. All I was thinking of is, how can I get this money? You know? And so,
Yeah, do your own marketing.
Right. And that's a mentality that you know, they just don't have because of that, you know. But I personally, you know, went from being in the streets and all that, you know, and doing whatever I did. And that just kind of, that breeds that mindset into you. So then when you get into something like this, where you're like, well, you got to be able to think of ideas and so on and so forth. And I'm like, well, I could do that, you know. But
Yeah,
my only
Gail
problem, go ahead.
Gail Simone once said, you know, that Comicsgate wasn't a comics movement; it was a YouTube movement, and she was completely wrong, but she was completely right, because what she was recognizing was that there was the marketing aspect of this, where you gotta, not only push your own material, but it's intercommunal because you're pushing other people's work in addition to your own, and those other people are also pushing your work because we're all, you know, it's a rising tide that raises all boats. So, you know, by all these creators working with each other and helping each other out, they all profit. They all get better.
Dude, you know what we're doing? Like, this is the thing. Like I said before, doing YouTube for so long, right? But before it was gaming, right? All that we're doing when we do that is the same thing that they teach you in all the beginner YouTube that YouTube provides you with, the beginner guides and all those things. It's collaboration, and that's and that's like, it's just taking exposure from your eyes that you have on your fans or whatever, and then taking theirs, and then you're just, you know, crossing them over, and that's it. And then you get new fans for you, new fans for them. Then that increases your reach. And once you increase your reach, then you draw in more people. And then if you continue to collaborate, right, it continues to just push more and more fans towards you from both sides. That's why CG and Fandom Menace have had, like, there's been such a growth in CG from Fandom Menace, and then from CG to Phantom Menace, from back and forth, because we kind of glide along the same exact ideals. It's just one medium is different from the other,
I just don't understand that sudden need for medium purity, because the whole, it's a YouTube movement, it's an internet thing, it's a digital thing. I don't understand why that isn't valid. I mean, I remember clearly falling in love with comics that I never had read before or heard about before, just by watching like comic documentaries as a kid on TV. Like they will put a, like, I don't know, a documentary about Richard Corbin or Mobius, and I would go, oh, that looks really cool. I mean, I really wanna read that. And what was the clerk at the comic book store going to tell me? No, that's not valid because you saw that on TV and not in a comic book magazine. Who cares? I mean, we need to take advantage of the technology and network, and just, we can't just live in the 1920s forever.
right?
Like the funny books,
And that's the thing when it comes to new media, right? I guess you could call it new media, because even comics now has to become that way, right? And I always draw back to the things that I did before. And when we decided to close the studio down, and the owner had his own album that had been done for a long time, he was just kind of apprehensive about doing it himself, because it wasn't typical of what he felt like his people would expect from him, right? But we went out and did it, and it was totally unconventional. People would go do shows and they go do radio or videos. We didn't do that. MySpace was the biggest thing out, and Facebook was barely a twinkle. And so we were just doing MySpace blasts. That was the main way that we were getting a lot of exposure as far as like on the internet. The rest of it was straight what we call hand-to-hand combat. And it was just one-on-one, hey, what kind of music you listen to? And rejection, boom, move to the next guy, boom, and playing odds until you get the person that's going to be receptive, and then you start to learn who will and who won't, and then I could pick them out of a crowd. So, but that comes from saying that, okay, you guys go this route because that's the way it's always been done in the music industry. But every time I see a mall, that's an ATM to me. I'm going in here selling $10 a CD, making $5 profit for myself. I'm about to go in here and drop like 10 CDs, and so I'm going to come out with my $50 for me, and I'm going to go do this about 6 or 7 more times, and so but when you're stuck on how it's always traditionally done, you don't do that. You're not going to be out there walking around, and I promise we were the first ones. We had to be. To walk around with the Nextel chirp phones with the old school serial cable connected with the big chunky credit card machine, You know, when people say, oh, all I have is card, I got you. Here you go. You know what I mean? And those are things that you know, most people are not going to do or feel like they have to do. You know, it's the whole get a job, do this, do that. But once you do that, then you start to kind of see that when they make comments like that, yeah, she's right about the YouTube thing, but I'm not sure her intent or the way that she meant that, right? If it was derogatory or not. But yeah, this is just another way to do what's been done before, but do it in such a way that it just reaches more people and it offers what people always like. Like Abijah said about the documentaries, it offers an inside look to everything. And then the other thing about YouTube is number one is collaboration. The next thing about YouTube is you. They're not coming there because of the game you play. They do it initially. They're not coming there because you're 27, 28-year veteran in the comics industry. They come there first, but then what they stay for is you. You are the key. You are the secret. It's personality. It's no different than radio disc jockeys back in the day. Even now,
Absolutely.
Howard Stern has been doing this for who knows how long. I don't agree with everything about him, but the point is that that's what it is. And so then when he does his stuff with video, he's just embracing what new technology there is and expanding his market.
And you can tell the guys who are getting better at this. It's funny to go back and I've watched Ethan Van Sciver evolve on YouTube over the years. My first exposure to him on YouTube was 2017 because criticalblast.com ran their best of the year, and he had just left DC at the end of the year, but his work on Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps was voted by the readers, marking him as the best comics artist for that year. So we had a trophy for him, and the video is on his screen. We worked out how to do that video. I did passing it over, and he did the video, him taking it in. But I told him a year later, I was like, when I compare that video to what you're doing now, your confidence in front of the mic and your at easeness is just grown. The more you do this, the better you get at it. Until he's literally just a show host, a seasoned show host.
Yes, he is, because you can tell when he went from, and this will happen if you're on YouTube long enough, is that you'll go, like, even me, sometimes people say, well, when you talk about stuff, you seem to be able to keep the conversation going, but that's what you have to learn. You have to learn how to do that and how to be entertaining. You have to have charisma, but that's something you can develop if you really try to, and that's what he did. So he went from pauses and jilted things and issues with iPads and all that to now he's got it so streamlined. Boom, snap, it's on. I'm on. Let's go. And then he's with the guests. He can just hit the wit and the jokes can just come right off the top of his head. And then he knows an important rule when you have other people involved, other guests, is when to step back and let those guests run the show. And so
I'm still working on that one.
Yeah, that's something. But you're kind of you're doing great. I don't see.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. I can tell you that I feel really comfortable here.
But me, I work doing
Uber
and Lyft. Yeah, I work doing Uber and Lyft. So I work right now a lot of 12-hour days. So I just don't have time to do it like that. That's the good thing about him is that he does have, even though he does, draw and all that, but he still has good amounts of pockets of time because he's home and he doesn't have to come home and get settled and set up and do, get ready to do it. He can usually just boom, snap, he's ready to go. As soon as a story comes in, he can just turn right around, turn the camera on and do it, That is kind of a thing that
That's the goal for all of us, is to be able to stay home and just do this all the time. I would love to do a comic book. I've got, I've already told you guys I do the Destroyer books. I've written other books. I got a story, and nobody can see this. I picked this up because Caesar had mentioned Gods and Soldiers, another book he's working on. I was like, oh, I like that title because we had Gods and Services, which was one of the books that Critical Blast Publishing put out. And I did sort of the framework story around this, and then it was just an anthology of other people doing stories about out-of-work gods who could be purchased by way of a trinket in this little, the little shop that pops up.
Cool.
You never saw it there before. I pass by here all the time. You go and you buy something, something's attached to it. It's making your life miserable. You try to take it back. The shop's not there anymore. It never was there. It's like, so we played with that. That was our first attempt. That was our first attempt at doing an anthology. We got better because now we got this 370-page anthology that just came out this month called The Devil You Know, which is 20 stories. That's my baby right now. That's
Well, if I could make a suggestion for you, if you do another Remo book, there's this one guy. He's a Puerto Rican guy, and he's like a phenomenal artist, right? And he can do like hand painting, like watercolor and all that. So like if you did a Destroyer like cover, right, and you got this guy to do it for you, he did one for this book that's coming out. Maybe you've heard of it. It's called John's Law. Yeah. So this guy I know. What's his Caesar, that's his name. Caesar Feliciano. He's like incredible when it comes to slinging the paint. So, you might want to consider. I can envision it.
Very sly, very classy.
Yeah.
You can see that they're making all the books the same way now. But I'm going to walk around in my pajamas again here. Over here on this shelf here is pretty much the entire run of the Destroyer.
Right.
That's really cool pants, by the way.
Thank you. I didn't wear my Batman PJs tonight, so I got a little old for those. But I love these old covers.
That's what I'm talking. That's his wheelhouse right there. Yeah.
That's Hector Garrido doing all that. And there was always, the guy with the gun and the woman in a towel if she wasn't completely naked.
And I miss those colors.
What's his name? Jose.
These pants are amazing.
What's that old school DC artist?
Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
Yeah. It's always the Hispanics. We come in, Latinos. We come in and
Man, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm telling you, that's why
to get some original. Hector did friggin' fantastic covers. And I think he's still alive. So, but he's not doing that anymore. Darn it.
Yeah, you could even make your own, like, here's another suggestion. You could make your own sign-up
Jose
form.
Luis Garcia.
You could make your own sign-up or sort of a pre-order type of a page that directs towards wherever they're selling the book, those books you wrote. And if they sign up,
sexy babes and
with the mailing list,
and cool guys.
We're all roboting.
Okay. Yeah, everything went.
Yeah.
I have no control over the Destroyer books because I don't own them. I just write for the company. That's
Oh, you write for the company? Well,
I write for the owners.
Here's the thing. Okay. Like I told you, there's always a way around everything. All right. So you may not own it and you may not publish it, but it has to be sold somewhere. So wherever it's being sold online, you can create your own little, form that's going to send them there. You can generate a mailing list for yourself for your projects. And at the same time, if they sign up, they could win a poster that you could get Caesar to do, right?
Hey, I'd like
and
that.
Then have a drawing for someone to win the original art.
Here's the thing. I would put 1,000 slips of paper with my name on them in the drawing for the original art because I am an original art guy. Don't make me do this. I'm going to do this, but I have a secret obsession that's not quite so secret because my wife knows about it now. I'm gonna give myself full screen here for just a minute.
As of this stream, she knows now.
As of this stream, she knows.
Oh, really cool, man.
A man culture episode.
A man of culture. But the thing is, every time I find an artist at a convention, they say, "Who do you want me to draw?" And it always ends up being the same thing, kind of, sort of.
It's somewhat the same.
Somewhat the same. Like the. Always
that was really good. That last one though was pretty extreme.
Sultry. I can hear so many SJWs reading now because breads don't work like that.
I don't care. They
while
worked the way.
Correct answer.
All the while, bad girl saying, "Swear to me." Oh, that's nice.
So like, yeah, every this was the only exception I had because this guy had like some prints and he had a super great deal going on where it's like, yeah, you can buy like one for $10 or 3 for $25. So I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I will take your Catwoman and I will take your Supergirl because they were just friggin' awesome. But the Batgirl always stays in the front of the stack. So yeah, if I ever run into anybody at a convention and I've got spare cash burning a hole in my pocket, they'll draw me a Batgirl, especially if it's an artist that has never drawn that character before. It's sort of like going to George Perez and him saying, who do you want me to draw? I'm like, Cherry Pop-Tart.
Yeah, something just totally off the wall.
Yeah, something that's not his thing, challenging, pushing. Bugs Bunny. Give me your best Bugs Bunny. There's another guy I'm going to miss is George Perez.
Well, hey, keep up with the bike because he comes down here. So and
she was looking for
possibly he's supposed to be moving down here.
I mean, I keep getting offers, and Spain is getting crazier and crazier. We're forced to wear hijabs now. They call them face masks, but I know what they are. They are not fooling me. So it's a real possibility. I just need to save enough money to bring my old folks with me. They always tell me that they want to farm somewhere in Texas with a Winchester, a nice big porch.
Yeah. On which to brandish their Winchester.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I spent a year in Texas. I worked there for the first month, and it took me the other 11 months to escape. But I was in Waco, which was like, apparently the armpit of the state. And I was like, no, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, I'm in San Antonio, so that's where I'm trying to get him to move to, because I'm like, if you come to San Antonio and this thing really kicks off good, we're gonna have to get like a small office or something, where we can work out. And it doesn't even matter if it's our projects, just projects that he and I are both involved in, because we definitely click a lot on a lot of stuff, and I'm
really cheap. I mean, I eat much less than you'd say, and I just need like a private locker or something to one of these storage units. I would live in one of those. I'm not particular.
The San Antonio is nice now. It's I've been to San Antonio for a software convention once because I'm an IT geek guy, and I stayed at that hotel where they got the canal behind it that does that little loop and the stores.
The Riverwalk,
yeah. So I went to two places that I walked to. First place I said I have to go see the Alamo since I'm here and take a picture of it, and I'm like, I've seen the Alamo in pictures. I've seen the Alamo in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's out in the middle of the desert somewhere. And I get there, I'm like, where is this Alamo? Nope. And it's this little bitty stone thing. I'm like, is this like a replica of the Alamo? And they're like, no, that's the thing. I was like, but in the movies, there's not a friggin' mall next to it. And there's not a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum across the street from it. Right across I was like, this is not the Alamo.
And there's not a constant flow of ghost tours going on in the adjoining little park right there by the Menger Hotel. Yeah, no.
Exactly. And then also on the hotel map, they showed me all the stuff that was there. Was O. Henry's house, and I was like, O. Henry's house is in San Antonio. Oh, I'm a writer. I've got to go see O. Henry's house and get a picture of me standing in front of it. So I look at the map and I see, okay, it's like way down the street. I'm gonna walk, and I walked and I walked, and I got into an area of town where I was very happy to see that the police station was right across the street because I was getting a little scared, and everybody's giving me the side eye. And I say, I can't find this damn house. So I go into the police station and I sit there and I say, we lost Caesar. Dang
Oh
it.
no. I
Why
think it was the
Caesar?
mention of the ghost stars. He must have been
No.
scared because of
I said I was in a bad section of San Antonio and he got offended.
I think wrong ethnicity.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, I was like, I go into the police station. I say, hey guys, I'm getting ready to go back to my hotel the other direction here. I came down this road because the O. Henry house is supposed to be here. Where is the O. Henry house? Oh, look at those cyberfrog issues, man. Now you're showing off.
Yeah, just got him.
And the police are like, we have no idea where the O. Henry house is. We don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, okay. So the police station was like on a corner, and I had gone in one corner door, and I was going to come out the other corner door. So I'd be facing a different direction. I came out the police station. Right across the freaking street from the police station is this little cottage with a sign on it that says the O. Henry house. I'm like, it's right across the street from the office.
They don't know.
They don't know where it's at. Do not call 911 in San Antonio. They will not find your ass.
They will not find you.
I mean, it's Texas. Do you really need to call 911 in Texas? Doesn't anyone have like a rocket launcher at home or something?
See, everybody
yeah.
thinks that. But I mean, don't get me wrong. There's lots of people that do have guns and stuff. But I don't see. It's not like I see. Like I haven't been able to say I've seen 10 people in a day that have well, they could have them concealed, like the one that's inside of the waist. But I don't see that many that show them. But that's probably because we have the concealed carry, But I don't see a whole lot of people that just have them on their hip all the time either, So. But
the cool thing about concealed carry is the clothing manufacturers for them. Because I interviewed for a place, again, software, for a place that manufactured clothing for concealed carry. And I was like, what was, and they showed me like, well, check out this shirt. And I'm like, yeah, it's a very nice looking shirt. And they're like, you just grabbed it and ripped it open. The buttons were magnets. They're just magnetized right at the front, but it looked like it was buttoned down. And inside was the holster. So if you had to get to it, you just went, and there it was.
That's awesome.
Damn.
That's the second most thing I've ever heard related to tailored suits. The first one being Obama wore like a bulletproof suit. Like it's actually like kind of like isn't that in John Wick anyway? Like he has like a suit, like a tailor suit that's actually bulletproof. Well, that's from real life. I read somewhere that Obama used to wear one.
I like the fact that because like there's a game that I worked as a community manager for. It's called Escape from Tarkov, and it's got Russian developers that are making it. But anyway, so in that game, it's like the most full customization of the weapons, like down to the springs and everything. Like it's full. And most games, the guns are actually empty; they're hollow, but it's just an animation. These are like modeled down to everything. Well, I always look at things and I look for, because that's where I honestly learned a lot about what I know about guns now and the realistic stuff, because you could see the forums of people talking about this stuff, showing clips. A lot of these guys having these guns themselves, shooting at ballistic gel and all that and showing the results, which is really kind of cool when you think about it. But yeah, so when they said in the movie, how, it's like, yeah, it's going to stop it, but you're going to feel it. Like, it's going to be really bad. And that,
the kinetic force is a thing. I mean, even if you stop the bullet, you'll still taking the hit.
It's like the suit, the bullet won't penetrate the suit, but it might just carry the suit through you and come out the other side and then bounce back out. The suit's fine. You've got a hole in you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's. I mean, it's like a watermelon underneath, and it just disintegrates in inside of it. But yeah, I like stuff like where they add that. I mean, they're doing the fantastical in a way, but they're adding some dimension of reality to it, which I think you kind of got to have, in some instances to make it, sell, to sell it to the audience,
Yeah,
So
I agree. Well, guys, I've kept you on here way longer than the hour we normally go, but that's when we're having good conversation and
well, we haven't
having fun
done very
talking about
many of
comics and shit.
these. We haven't done very many of these, but we always end up staying. Like they always say, we're going to do an hour, and we always end up staying longer.
I
That's how
don't
charming
target
we are.
anything, and an hour is normal. Some people, after 35 minutes, I'm like, okay, I have nothing more I need to learn from you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes that's all it takes to get the message across. And sometimes it's like we've been going on for 2 hours here, and we haven't even gotten to the meat of the story yet.
Yeah.
But we probably should go and get food or sleep or something.
Yeah.
For everybody who's watching the replay of this, do check out the link below that will take you to the sign-up sheet for Johnny's Law. If you sign up for that, you will be on the list to get the 10-page prequel comic that will come when you order the 60-page actual comic. And once you guys are up and running in 3 days, which would be August the 15th, we'll get to go in and see what all your wonderful tiers are and perks and levels and your goal for this again to hit goal is what, 5,000 you said?
5,000, yes, and it's going to be very simple. It's really only 2 tiers. If people suggest something to me that I can add, and and it makes sense, then I'll do it. It's the first campaign, so I really don't want to just bog people down with a bunch of choices and just kind of keep it simple. And then once we move into the next campaign, then we can really expand it outward and do some other stuff. I mean, there's lots of things I'd like to do, but I just feel like if I give myself too much to do on this first campaign, I just want to kind of play it safe a little bit. You know what I mean? So,
I understand. Yeah.
thank you.
Glad you guys were able to make it, and keep it simple. Simple's good. What people like to get drawn into these things. You always have get killed by Johnny.
Yeah,
and
I was thinking about that. Yeah. What do you think? You think we should do something like that?
I think it's great. I would have no problem erasing and redrawing a couple of faces to keep our readers happy. I think that's a great idea.
I mean it's CG, so we already know it's 7 of 9 is going to end up taking it anyway. So
absolutely, but I didn't draw him into the book just in case he wants to play.
Right, I was even thinking about it. I was at one point I forgot about it, but I was thinking, hey, if I should tell him go ahead and draw 7 of 9 in there, because we already know he's gonna, if we do that tier, he's gonna freaking be the first one to get it. I think he has macro set up or something so that he can just jump into campaigns real quick and get the tier before anybody else.
I imagine him, like the architect in the second Matrix movie. He has a shitload of things in his home, and he's like, "Oh, a new campaign! This one's mine."
Yeah, exactly. Vis-a-vis.
He's like the Stan Lee of the CG universe. He wanders from book to book.
Yes,
to book.
Exactly.
Yeah, for real.
Yes,
in my head canon,
in
my head canon, he's actually the same person in every Comicsgate book. Like he's traveling through the multiverse.
Yes, exactly. See, the Deltaverse, that's kind of part of that, where I can also bring in other CG characters where we can do standalone stories that don't affect their universes. So.
I think CG is missing some great opportunities for not necessarily crossover stories, although do those because those are cool, but for crossover promotions. And I've talked a couple of times on different streams about this, and if you're in the chat, you're going to hear the same preaching again. But I think it would be really cool if you could get 9 CG creators who could get along long enough to make this happen. Because God knows it's a split. But okay, you remember those X-Men Fleer cards that came out in the 90s, the trading cards?
Yeah.
And you'd put them in your little sheet, And once you got a sheet full of them, you're like, holy crap, it made this great, beautiful picture here with all 9 of my X-Men characters fighting against this background. Well, imagine if you had 9 CG creators doing totally separate stories who all approached one artist to draw a 9 sheet of cards, and then cut them and separate them, and then you get your cards, and they become part of your campaign. So you got a tier on Johnny's Law where you're like, hey, at this tier you get your Johnny's Law card, your trading card.
Have you seen what 6 a.m. Have you seen what 6 a.m. Comics does? He has like this huge ball of comics characters in chibi style. It's really great.
Yeah, and George Gatsis is doing he's doing a card set where it's 2 cards though. 2 cards with the 2 characters, and the artist of the book draws their character, and then he draws his character with them in a scene and colors it and everything, and it just makes like these 2 cards that butt together make the whole scene. So,
but here's the thing: you get both of those cards from George Gatsis. What if you got your card from your campaign and a Cyberfrog card from the Cyberfrog campaign and a third card from another campaign, and suddenly someone realizes, oh, this is part of a set. Where are these other 6 cards at? Oh, I have to go check out these 6 campaigns. So now you've got campaigns interconnectedly supporting other campaigns, and there are enough OCD assholes among us that are going to sit there and say, I've got to have all 9 of them now, and you're going to go and support all 9 campaigns just because you supported 2.
Boy, you wait, I'm stealing that idea. Yeah,
I wish somebody would. I wish somebody would. I always hear that, that's a great idea, but you're never going to get 9 people to go along with it. And I'm like, no, I bet you will. You just get the same artist, draw them all fighting something. It's the same background.
Yeah, it's a variant cover. It's simple. No,
it's not even a cover. It's just the cards.
The cards. Yeah. The cards. That's simple. That's so easy to do, and they're so inexpensive to make. You know what I mean? That can be done easy. But the concept of it, the only thing that you're talking about, the idea is the same thing as YouTube, where you're coming on each other's show and collaborating. And it's the same technique, except you're able to do it in what we all love, which is the physical print media that we are nostalgic for and that we enjoy.
Exactly. So. And you know what? They don't even have to be campaigns that are running at the same time. You could run your campaign in August and have it done in October. And it's like, okay, I got these cards. Where are these other cards at? Well, there's a campaign that's going to run in April that has this card. Guess what? You're on the list for April when that thing comes out. Just because you want the card, you don't even know what the book is yet.
Right. Exactly. Yes, because that's what they've done with figures and all these other things. You just want it because you want that special thing, And it's like what the big 2 are doing with their variant covers, right? Except it's not predatory, It's a choice you can make, and there's no issue about it. Anything it doesn't sell or whatever, we know it's going to sell because it's going to sell whatever people buy by demand, So that in and of itself makes it pretty much foolproof, So yeah, it's a great idea.
So anyway, that's my sermon on the cards again. I delivered all the time, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's been a great stream. Loved having you guys here. Definitely want to do it again.
Yes, please.
You're a busy guy, so I'm sure we'll see you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Watch for my open mic nights. I have one about once a week when I can't find somebody to fill a slot. So I just throw the link out to Twitter, and it's like, whoever wants it, grab it, jump in. We'll just chat about nothing. Everybody go out there and back Johnny's Law. If you do like this kind of stuff, obviously hit the like, smash the subscribe button, and follow the links for The Devil You Know and our other books in there below. If you don't want to spend money, just go visit the website criticalblast.com and check out our reviews of movies, comics, books, music, television shows, and everything else in the entertainment industry. It doesn't cost you a dime. We rake in the ad money. And believe me, that $2.72 every month is helpful. So, guys, it's been a pleasure. We're out of here.